Have you ever felt like your mind is fighting a silent war against you? Not loud, not violent, but always there. A quiet voice, almost a whisper, planting doubt every time you try to stand tall. You wake up tired. Not because your body's worn out, but because your thoughts never let you truly rest. And the hardest part? These habits don't shout. They whisper. They show up as perfectionism, as people-pleasing, as conflict avoidance, as numbing distractions you turn to when it all feels too much. Ever noticed how some thoughts feel like anchors, pulling you down just as you try to move forward? How many times have you made yourself smaller, just to be accepted? How many times have you smiled on the outside, while quietly falling apart inside? The truth is, some of the most damaging habits are the ones we don't even notice. But what if you could finally see them? Bring them into the light, and slowly, gently, let them go? Today, we'll uncover 5 subtle habits that might be affecting your mental health. And more importantly, how to begin healing. Because you deserve peace. And sometimes, healing doesn't start by doing more. It starts by noticing what's been quietly hurting you. If you've ever felt lost inside your own mind, this channel is your safe space. Hit that subscribe button. Because no one should have to go through this alone. The truth is, no one wakes up one day and decides, I'm going to hurt myself from the inside out. It doesn't happen like that. It's more subtle, almost invisible. Tiny gestures, recurring thoughts, silent choices that seem harmless. But slowly, day after day, they drain your energy, your self-worth, your peace. You smile at everyone around you, but inside, you're tearing yourself apart. You say, I'm fine, while swallowing the urge to scream. You put everyone else first, and forget about yourself. The scariest part? It starts to feel normal. You get so used to the weight, that you forget what lightness feels like. These habits don't show up like monsters. They come as whispers, dressed up as logic. They say, you need to be stronger, work harder, be perfect. But the truth? They're slowly breaking you. Now, it's time to shine a light on these quiet patterns. Because only what's seen can be healed. Criticizing yourself for everything, even in silence. Sometimes, the harshest enemy we face lives right inside our own head. It's that quiet inner voice that doesn't yell. It whispers, over and over again. You should have done better. You always mess things up. No one's ever going to take you seriously. And the hardest part? With time, you start to believe it. That voice. It disguises itself as self-awareness. But it's a trap. It tells you it's helping you improve, when really, it's quietly tearing you down from the inside. How many times have you looked in the mirror? Not to embrace your flaws, but to judge them, like you were standing trial? Harsh self-criticism doesn't build character. It steals your confidence, your courage, even your desire to try again. But what if you started talking to yourself the same way you'd speak to someone you love? Next time that inner critic shows up, ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? And if the answer is no, you don't deserve to hear it either. Healing begins when you replace judgment with compassion. You don't need to hurt in silence just to grow. And speaking of silence, there's another invisible habit. One that quietly chips away at your mental health. And you might not even realize you're doing it. Let's talk about it next. Living on autopilot and numbing your emotions. Ever feel like you're stuck in autopilot mode? You wake up, work, reply to messages, check off tasks, get home, and repeat the whole cycle the next day. From the outside, everything seems fine. But on the inside, it's like your soul is on mute. It's the kind of silence that doesn't scream. It just weighs you down. You don't feel excitement anymore. Not even sadness. Just tired. A kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. Living on autopilot is like driving through a tunnel without ever noticing the view. You're moving, but you're not connecting. And ignoring how you feel, even if it seems like protection, is like putting a bandage on something that was never cleaned. Eventually, what gets buried starts to surface. In irritability, in emptiness, in sleepless nights, in emotional distance. The path to healing starts with something simple, yet powerful. Presence. Give yourself a moment each day, just to check in. It could be 5 quiet minutes, a short journal entry, or simply closing your eyes and asking, what am I really feeling right now? Acknowledging your emotions isn't weakness. It's the first step to reconnecting with who you are. And once you start listening to yourself, really listening, things begin to shift. But there's another habit, just as quiet as this one, that eats away at your self-worth, without you even noticing. Let's talk about it next. Saying yes all the time, even when you want to say no. Have you ever said yes, while everything inside you was screaming no? It's that invite you didn't want to accept. That favor that left you drained. That help you offered, even though you had nothing left to give yourself. Saying yes all the time can look like kindness. But when it costs you your peace, it becomes self-abandonment. Little by little, you start to disappear. You drift away from yourself, just to fit into what others expect of you. And the more you say no to yourself, the more you feel like you need to prove your worth. It's an invisible prison. The need to please. But constantly pleasing others isn't empathy. It's fear of rejection, dressed up as kindness. And the truth is, you don't need to empty yourself to be accepted. Learning to say no is an act of love. For yourself and for others. Because when you respect your own boundaries, you teach others how to respect them too. Start small. A gentle "not today." A simple "I need to think about it." A quiet "now's not the right time." Slowly, your voice stops being silence. And you start finding yourself, where there used to be just absence. But what happens when, even after giving your all, you still feel like it's not enough? That's the next habit. And maybe, the most painful of them all. Expecting too much from yourself, all the time. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you do, it's never enough? Like there's some invisible measuring stick. Impossible to reach. And somehow, you're always falling short. You show up. You push yourself. You go above and beyond. But at the end of the day, you still blame yourself for not doing more. That constant pressure pushes you into a race that never ends. An emotional marathon, where you're always running against yourself. And somehow, always losing. And the hardest part? Most people never see it. On the outside, you look strong. But on the inside, you're carrying the heavy weight of needing to be flawless all the time. This habit, disguised as ambition, hides a deeper fear. The fear that if you're not always doing, achieving, proving, you won't be enough. But here's the truth. You don't need to prove yourself constantly. Resting isn't laziness. Messing up doesn't make you unworthy. And stopping is still moving forward. Start by remembering something simple. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, respect, and rest. Your humanity is enough. And maybe, just maybe, you've been comparing yourself to a standard that doesn't even exist. Which brings us to the next habit. And trust me, this one's just as sneaky. Constantly comparing yourself to others. Comparison is a quiet thief. It slips in without warning. And steals your peace, your self-worth, your gratitude. You open your phone and see someone who seems to have it all together. And suddenly, Everything you have doesn't feel like enough anymore. Your achievements shrink. Your journey loses its shine. But what you don't see, what no one shows, are the behind the scenes of that perfect picture. The insecurities hidden behind those smiles. The pain, filtered through cheerful captions. The grass only looks greener on the other side. Because you're seeing it from the wrong angle. Comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel is never fair. Everyone has their own timing, their own path, their own battles. So instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. The most beautiful kind of growth is the kind no one else sees, but you feel. And if you need to, step back for a while. Spend less time on social media. Find your voice again beneath all the noise. Because your journey deserves to be lived with presence, not pressure. And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. You don't need to tear yourself down in order to grow. You don't need to ignore your feelings just to move forward. You don't need to say yes to everything, or prove yourself every step of the way. And most of all, you definitely don't need to compare yourself to anyone to recognize your own worth. Sometimes, the most destructive habits are the quietest ones. But now that you've seen them, you can start changing them. One by one. With gentleness. With awareness. With compassion. And when healing feels far away, remember this. Even the deepest wounds begin to heal the moment they're seen with love. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If any part of this video resonated with you, leave a comment. I'd truly love to hear what you felt or thought. If you found this helpful, give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. It really helps the channel grow and keeps the message of healing and support going strong. I'll see you in the next video.